Hello and welcome. My name is Dom. I'm from Arsenal Domination, and I'm here just to talk to you about Arsenal's financial accounts. This might seem trivial and unimportant, and as fans, we don't necessarily care about the numbers, but the numbers in the account do have a significant issue on, or impact, I should say, on how Arsenal run things, and therefore on the product we see on the field, which is what we care about. So I want to just quickly dive into what the accounts say and the impact, more importantly, on what that means for the team. So let's quickly have a look at this because the accounts will impact the financial fair play rules or PSR regulations, which are important. We've seen in recent years Forest and Everton be fined for failure to comply, and just this season we've seen clubs like Chelsea have to sell Conor Gallagher or Aston Villa have to sell Duran to help comply with the regulations to ensure that they are not met with punishments, either point deductions or transfer bans and the like, which obviously will negatively impact any club. Arsenal, to be clear, will be compliant. They have no issue being compliant, but things are a little bit tighter. And the accounts really sort of shed light onto that, onto why Arsenal have had minimal spending this summer and compared to the previous two years. So the accounts, as I say, the most important number, but not necessarily the one people are looking at, is a profit. Arsenal made a loss last year of £17.7 million. Now, it's much less of a loss than they had in the previous year, where they made a loss of £52.1 million, so that is good, but it was their fifth consecutive year of losses. The window that really matters for losses is 3 years because that's what the financial regulations rules look over. And some of that profit, or loss in this case, can actually be removed. So investment in the women's team, for instance, can be removed. Transfers in terms of expenditure can be run out over a longer period of time. The length of the contract is why Chelsea, infamously in the last few years, have given like 8-year contracts to spread the payments out. Those rules have been tightened since. So the profit doesn't tell the full story, but what it does do is show that Arsenal, making a loss, do have potentially some issues with those rules. But secondly, the club want to be sustainable, and continued losses is not a good thing. Now, that's the owner's problem, not our problem as fans, but it will give you an indication of why Arsenal are taking the approach they make. But the most important one is that they comply with those regulations. So why did they make a loss when revenue was up, which is the number that everyone is fixating on? Revenue significantly up. It was up to £616 million. That's pretty much a third up on the previous year, thanks mostly to Champions League money, but an increase in commercial revenue as a result of that Champions League football, and Arsenal's improvement in terms of the field and has also massively helped. But there is also the fact that they increased player sales. As I say, this financial accounting window and relates to the 23-24 season. So the sales that year would have been Granit Xhaka and Flo Balogun, but they were significant increase in terms of the money we got in for sales on the previous year. And again, this summer will have increased again when we see the accounts for this current season next year. All of that is good news. Arsenal's revenue streams increasing will have a knock-on effect into this season as well, where you'd expect them to be at least the same, if not higher. And that will be positive for Arsenal going forward. But it also came with an increase in cost. Arsenal, as a result of Champions League, increased wages quite significantly to get players like Bukayo Saka to sign new deals, but there will have been bonuses and what have you will increase as a result of being in the Champions League for many players. Wages being the real major increase in Arsenal's spending, and that's why, despite the significant increase in revenue, there was still a small loss. Also, the cost of the loans have also increased. Arsenal mostly owe loans to the owners who took on those loans because then they could reduce the interest payments Arsenal were due, but interest rates have increased significantly, and that will not have helped Arsenal. So that's the big picture then. That's where the accounts are. Revenue up, costs up, profit, the losses were less than they had previously been, but still a loss. Arsenal, therefore, compliant with the rules because of the exemptions and the way it all works, but much, much tighter. And Arsenal, in fairness, told us that in the summer. They said that this year's spending would be floor raisers, not ceiling raisers. And we've seen that. Now, I don't think that means they couldn't have spent anything. I calculated they had about £50 million to spend in January. They chose not to do that, and I think that was a big mistake. But what it does mean is that it does demonstrate that Arsenal weren't in a position to go out and get an Isak or a Gyökeres, which has been widely reported. But here's why, and here's the numbers that sort of show that was the case. But what does it mean going forward? because Arsenal have missed an opportunity this year to increase to invest in the side as much as they could have done, and I think that was a mistake. And I think many people agree with that. But that revenue increase that I talked about and that reduction in losses, coupled with a year where spending has been significantly less than it has been in the previous 2 years, coupled with the fact that one of those big lost years will fall off when we next look at the PSR regulations for this current season next year, means that Arsenal are in a position, I think, in summer 2025 to spend significantly if they want to. And I think that is going to increase the pressure on the board and the new sporting director to go and have a big summer to put to bed the disappointment of this season. Some of which is blamable on Arsenal, some from my point of view is a bit unfortunate in terms of the number of injuries, etc., etc. You can talk about that all day long, but the numbers here say that Arsenal should be in a position to spend significantly, and I think they will need to do so. So that's what the financial accounts say. I hope that's been really useful. Please do put comments in and questions, and I will help liaise with the channel that this is going out on to try and help answer any questions that people might have, and I can try and help you with that. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for supporting the channel that this is going out on. They do great work. This is going out on a couple of channels, which I'm not naming them, but all 3 channels this might be going out on are really good channels. Please do subscribe to them and continue to support them. And thank you ever so much for listening to me. I will speak to you all soon. Thanks. Bye.